What's happening, everybody? Wanted to pop on today. Little May Face Mask live stream. No real agenda. We're kind of in the doldrums of the off season at this point. We're post draft and we're pre training camp, so there's not a whole lot in the way of news and notes going on. So we're kind of in that weird in between time where dynasty rookie drafts are probably still ongoing, although I would imagine the majority of those have wrapped up at this point. And we're kind of in that transition period from going from strictly thinking dynasty, starting to think about this upcoming season, and obviously specifically redraft and keeper formats. So what better way to top that or to talk about that by just, running a best ball draft in the background. Anything's on the table, dynasty or redraft. This is that time of year where, it's not too early. It's not too early to take a bird's eye view of certain situations for redraft. So we can get into that. Of course, dynasty is probably still a little bit more primary. We haven't even hit voluntary OTAs yet. But either topic can be on the table, and naturally, some conversations or some talking points will develop over the course of just kicking a draft off, and the guys that I end up with, I can talk about, and then we'll go from there. I do this spiel about best ball every year, just because I never know if, whether you're playing it for the first time or maybe you went away from it for a couple of years and you went back and you need a refresher on how it goes. It's a draft in its purest form from a redraft perspective, but the strategy is a little different than your typical redraft league. So one good thing to remember, if you are somebody who plays a lot of best ball, it's important to remember to separate best ball ADP from redraft ADP. Yes, they are like redraft in the sense that you are focusing primarily on just that season, in this case, the 2025 season, and the scoring is the same, but that's where the similarities end. You cannot set a lineup in best ball. You complete a draft, could be anywhere from 16 to 18 to 20 rounds. And there are no transactions or in-season roster management when it comes to best ball. So whatever happens, you cannot then retroactively go in and make any changes or updates to the team that you have. The roster that you draft is the roster that you will have for the season, no matter what. So obviously in your traditional redraft leagues, your keeper leagues, whatever have you, the waiver wire is oftentimes your best friend at least a couple of times per season. You will not have that luxury. You do not have that luxury in best ball. So obviously you got to get a little lucky. But on top of that, you can be more flexible in best ball with high variance guys. What does that mean? High variance means that they are traditionally a little bit more unpredictable to predict on a week-to-week basis. You have your chalk guys. You have your dudes that are like, these guys are in my lineup every week, no matter what. And then you have guys that are a little bit more based on matchups. If it's a favorable one, if it's a bad secondary, you may consider starting a streaky wide receiver against them. If it's a shaky defense against the run, maybe you start a fringe running back that you don't always play, so you get the idea. High variance dudes, as in this guy could go off one week and do absolutely nothing the next. The veteran, well, he's not really fantasy relevant anymore, but the guy I always would point to as a name that I always liked as a best ball target was Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks was a fun, electric, dynamic, deep threat in his day, but he was susceptible to terrible games where he just didn't produce, the 2-catch, 10-yard output where he doesn't get open deep or whatever. It just doesn't materialize for the offense, and he doesn't have a very big fantasy day. But then he'll have his other days where he has 5 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was not consistent in any way, shape, or form. It made him frustrating to have in redraft, but he's a great guy to have in best ball, where you don't have to predict those weeks, the big spike weeks, and when they happen. So you're rolling the dice, taking a player like that in redraft. It's actually probably a little bit more beneficial for you to do that in best ball. So the strategy is a little different compared to redraft. Scoring is the same. It's not super flex, although there are super flex contests on Underdog Fantasy. I believe I just saw that they dropped their first super flex tournament for the 2025 season. So for anybody who likes to play Superflex, Underdog now has that option. But this is default, and I'll therefore enter one of these drafts. It's 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, and a flex. And then 10 reserves any given week, because it's an 18-round draft. The 3 receiver spots to fill naturally are a little bit more challenging to fill on a weekly basis, just because there's one more of them than the running back spot, where there's only 2 running back spots. So it is common in these drafts to end up with 7, 8. I see 9 wide receivers on a roster regularly. It just depends on your strategy. You could go robust running back early, get a couple of studs that you're expecting, okay, like I'm hanging my hat on these guys to carry me through the season. And then I have, maybe 3 or 4 solid options at receiver, and then a bunch of guys that are like dart throw with solid expectations, of course. But like on a week-to-week basis, you're hoping 2 of those guys, 2 or 3 out of those other 5 or 6 reserve spots can give you that spike week that you need to, to have a good showing any given week. So builds are all over the place. It's a 1 quarterback. You start 1 quarterback in this format. I've seen people draft 4 of them. I've seen people draft 4 tight ends. I've seen people draft 3 or 4 running backs when, 5 or 6, and maybe even sometimes 7 is a little bit more common to see. People try all different types of strategies and ways about going about building a best ball roster. It's kind of up to you from like where your position is, who you end up with early, and what positions you feel like you need to prioritize later, as opposed to what you maybe already addressed earlier in the draft. Stacking is heavily encouraged in best ball. I mean, in redraft as well, right? We look for stacks. If we end up with a wide receiver and his quarterback is an attainable guy later in the draft, it's going to be enticing to pull that trigger, make that happen, and build the stack, and double the points, so to speak. It's even more encouraged in best ball because of the randomness and the inability to make any in-season roster moves. It mitigates by stacking. You kind of it mitigates risk a little bit if you end up getting guys on the same offense and that offense is good, which is probably expected if you're targeting them. You're obviously targeting good offenses in general, and if that offense does in fact turn out to be a good offense, and you have the quarterback, his wide receiver 1, and maybe you miss on his wide receiver 2, but you get his wide receiver 3. Now all of a sudden you're relying on less randomness, because you have good pieces from an offense that was expected to be good going into the season, and they're delivering on those expectations. That is an advantage that you want to seek out in best ball, again, because you can't make any in-season moves with your best ball roster. So I'm going to kick off a schnauzer. This is Underdog's $3 contest. They have 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and 8 hours per pick. I do have some slow drafts going, but why would I start a slow draft during a live stream? So we'll do 30 seconds per pick. So it's going to be rapid fire, and I need to be quick with my decisions and what I want to do, and I need to be mindful of the build that I start with, and okay, how do I put those pieces together and really feel like I have a competitive team as we move through the draft. So we'll see how this unfolds. First of all, what's going on, Crumbly Heads? What's going on, Mike? What's going on, Nemo? Good to see everybody. I just got a new member, Khalid. I hope I'm saying that. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Appreciate you joining on as a member. You will get access to some in-season perks, member videos, member shorts. I'll throw member shorts out during the season. That is a perk that I am adding this year. You'll also get priority responses in the chat. Especially if you have start-sit questions during the season. And you're eligible to play, if we have enough members, in Face Mask Fantasy redraft leagues commissioned by yours truly. So, and there's, the buy-in is your membership. So you can kind of test your mettle or whatever however you want to call it against myself and other members of the channel if you are so interested, if others are interested. So thanks for joining on. Hopefully this channel delivers the content that you're hoping to see. All right, let's go ahead and kick this off. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, and a flex, and then like 10 bench spots. All right, we're waiting for 9 people. So this should fill, I would think, relatively quickly. It is a fast draft. It is it's not exactly breaking the bank with it being a $3 entry. So these tend to fill up rather quickly. And then, of course, you have a little sneak peek. If you have not been on Underdog yet this year, you get a sneak peek of the current Underdog ADPs. McCaffrey's at 10.7. I last saw him at like 15, so he's firmly a first round pick now. So, it's May. It's the end of May. We're about to hit June. ADP is still kind of all over the place. It has settled in a bit, but a lot can change. A lot can happen. So if you do find yourself in a draft at this time of the year, and there's certain things that you believe in, a player breaking out, a player that others have maybe concerns about that you're willing to buy the dip on, a player that you're willing to fade no matter what the cost because you don't trust or believe in that player for whatever reason, like now is, an opportunity to kind of ignore ADP to a degree and, trust what you're confident in. Everybody does their own research, their own homework, and form your own expectations of certain players year over year. This is a good test run for all of that, for all of your preparation. Waiting for 8 people. All right, this is I should have entered this a little sooner than I actually did. This is filling a bit slower than I thought it would, but we will wait for this to fill. Of course, if you are, this is now 7. This is filling slow enough where if Underdog is eligible where you are free to join this draft now if you would like, if you want to take a shot at best ball. Again, if you live in a state where drafting is eligible. Yeah, these have changed a bit. At least the top of the draft has changed a little bit since I last looked at this. Jefferson was down, I think, at the he was the 4th guy generally off the board after Bijan, so that has flip flopped. Neighbors has climbed. I mean, dude was stellar last year, so not surprising. Genty, I've seen get drafted as high as like 5 or 6. Depends on how confident you are in Genty. Rookie running backs with the draft capital that Genty boasts tend to have a pretty strong hit rate, especially in their first year. when you're drafted 6th overall in the NFL draft as a running back, there's not going to be any training wheels on you. The team that drafts you is going to cut you loose and give you as much work as you can handle. So, Genty's range of outcomes is currently like a wildly safe floor, and he's got like top 3 upside at the position. That might even be a little conservative. He might, it might be ambitious, but he has probably RB1 overall upside if everything goes his way. If he gets the 350 touches that we're expecting, if he's able to score, I think he said he plans to score somewhere from 10 to 20 touchdowns. Wacky, wild range of outcomes that Genty is throwing out there. But if he hits at least 10 with the 350 opportunities that I think we can project for him, he'll be right there at the end of the day. I honestly would have thought Neighbors would leapfrog Puka after Devontae Adams signed with the Rams, but Puka firmly in that wide receiver, clear-cut top 5 wide receiver, top 8 ADP. I mean, they're two studs, so take your pick. Either one is going to be elite. Both over Amon-Ra St. Brown is interesting. There could be a little bit of caution. Obviously, there's only so much caution that you're throwing out there for a consensus top 10 pick in redraft. But what does the Lions offense look like without Ben Johnson? That's for the first time in 3 years, Detroit has to answer that question. Still remarkably safe. Will catch a ton of passes. Should be a safe bet for over 100 yet again. This will be the question. Can he maintain double-digit touchdowns for a 3rd straight year? McCaffrey was previously down in this area, that 15, 16, 17 spot. The vibes on McCaffrey this offseason have been, especially recently, mostly positive. It sounds like he doesn't really have any restrictions as we make our way toward OTAs and then ultimately training camp in about a month and a half's time. Yeah, quite a bit of change up at the top of this, at the top of the draft. Compared to even just a couple of weeks ago. So we still need 6 more people to join this draft to fill it out. Like I mentioned on, when clicking into this in this live stream, I'm happy to take any questions that anybody may have. What it could be dynasty or redraft, whatever's on your mind. I will, of course, probably naturally create some conversations based on the players that I end up with on this team. But happy to take questions in the chat as I'm able to answer them. Of course, once the draft gets going, I'm going to have to probably focus in on it. But I can take questions, while we wait for 5 more people. And then, of course, feel free to ask them as the draft is happening, and we can talk shop. Crumbly Heads, I think it's if you hit the join button underneath the title of the live stream, underneath like the video itself, I think that's where you go to re-up the membership. If you just hit the join button. These drafts usually fill quickly. I'm surprised with only with it only being a $3 entry that it's taking some time for these folks. The puppy is what fills incredibly fast. That's the $5 one. Far and away Underdog's most popular series of contests is the puppy series because it's only a $5 entry. Although this is only 3. I would have thought this would fill faster. The puppy 1 is already full. I think I got 4 or 5 entries in that one. The puppy 2 will probably be released at this point, I don't know, within the next week or two. What it probably is a lot of folks now at this time of year are opting for slow drafts so they can take their time with their picks with so much offseason time to kill. 8 hours to make a pick is way more palatable than 30 seconds. So these fast drafts, actually, there's time for people to enter them. Whereas the slow drafts are probably what are filling very quickly. While we wait for this, I can take a dynasty question. Somebody let me know, or I'll keep an eye on it. Let me know if this draft room fills and I'm just chatting away. So you still have your rookie draft to come. Pretty good capital with having the 2nd and the 4th overall pick. Seriously in need of a running back. So the obvious thought here is Amari and Hampton. The question is whether you want to take him at the 102, and also, is it a super flex draft or is it a 1 quarterback draft? If it's a 1 quarterback draft, then Hampton is probably the guy that you just go with. If it's a super flex draft, it depends on if there's anybody in your league that really needs a quarterback and would like the opportunity to draft Cam Ward. If it's a super flex draft, you could entice somebody with the 102 to try to move up to get Cam Ward, and you slot back, however many spots you need or can theoretically move back. If it's a 1 quarterback draft, I would probably just take Hampton at the 102. And if you don't feel like you need or want a wide receiver, because you'll have the chance at the 104 in this scenario to draft either Tet or Travis Hunter, whichever you prefer. If you don't want to draft one of those 2 guys, then the 104 is a prime candidate to try to move and trade back. Maybe trade back to the 106 or the 107 and pick up something else. And that way you can get another running back in the form of either Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins, who both should be available at those spots. Or if it's 1 quarterback, maybe like the slide back to the 105 or the 106. You can get either Henderson or Judkins. Take your pick. This draft is about to start, by the way. We're waiting for 1 more person, and then this will kick off. We can keep talking about this question. But whatever the format is, if it's 1 quarterback, then I would probably plan to just take Hampton at the 102. And we can figure out what to do with the 104 from there. If it's a super flex draft, I would be inclined to put the 102 on the block and try to trade back to that 106, 107 area, get Henderson and or Judkins, and then you'd also have additional draft capital. And this draft has filled. I'm picking at the turn. All right, I'm picking at the 112. So this is the range that I'm looking at here. And just to play the game of what does the, again, you want to try to look down the line to see, like, okay, who can I draft now? Plus, who am I potentially looking at later? So this is probably my, these are my options probably in the, at the 3-4 turn. Some decent wide receivers. Some interesting running backs, but nobody that's really jumping off the page. Anyway, we're off and running. Mike, let me know if that's one quarterback or super flex. And yeah, and we can talk it through a little bit more. If you'd like. Okay. We already got an auto pick at the 104. Tentatively, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't need to go all in depth right now, but I'm tentatively putting Bijan ahead of Saquon in my redraft running back rankings. I'm happy to end up with Nico. If one of these three guys, and it's probably just going to be Nico, is going to be available to me at the 112. Missed like 5 or 6 games last year, still cleared 1,000 yards receiving. I expect Stroud to be better this year than he was last year. I would expect a positive regression to the mean for Houston's offense. They got, they added, oh, wow, never mind. He just got drafted 108 overall. So see you later, Nico. So one of these wide receivers is going to fall to me. I mean, I assume I'm about to get Amon-Ra. I am about to get Amon-Ra. So that is the chalk. That's going to be the chalk pick that I make for the 112. Again, Amon-Ra has regularly been a first-round pick for a couple of years now. His ADP is down slightly to the bottom of the first round. There's no real strong, concrete reason why that's the case, other than there's just other really good players available here. I'll go ahead and lock in Amon-Ra. The question is, what do I do with the 201? I could go with another guy that I really like in Brian Thomas. I could go with an all reliable in Derrick Henry. I could go bully tight end and just take a huge positional advantage at tight end with Brock Bowers. Gets a quarterback upgrade in the form of Geno Smith. I am going to do that. The positional advantage at tight end is, if you identify it and you can hit on it, it is a major, major difference maker. Where I don't even know that I'd draft another tight end. I might just eat the bye week and take the 0, because the points I'm expecting Bowers to score over the course of the entire season should be significantly higher than, outside of like Trey McBride and George Kittle, almost every other tight end by a wide margin. I'm not going to care to grab a tight end 2 to hopefully to get me 4 or 5 points on Bowers bye week, and every other week he's likely going to be, backup fodder. I would probably plan not to draft another one. I will eat the 0 during Bauer's bye week, and I will plan to lean on him as just a stud tight end, high-end difference maker at the position. Positional value is through the roof with Brock Bowers, and just, with the quarterback upgrade, he was already great last year with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. You expect him to be more stable with a much better quarterback in Geno Smith. He has recently been one of the most accurate passers in the NFL. I almost feel that's kind of, he has done that kind of quietly in Seattle. Yeah, let's party. Solid run on running backs at the back half of the second round. Trey McBride's still available. That is, he's not so far past ADP. He will not last much longer. If he does, I will be sad. That would make me very sad if Trey McBride was available to me at the turn. Because then I can't take him. Then I could, but I would be setting myself up for some severely depleted depth at another position, and there he goes. Thank God. Although that's pretty good value for Trey McBride. And naturally now I'm going to be looking at quarterbacks like Goff because I have Amon-Ra, and Geno Smith because I have Brock Bowers. I will, and naturally, okay, do I look at grabbing Jacoby Myers at value? Do I try to grab Jamison Williams if he's not too expensive? Stacking it up. JMO would have to be my pick at the 3-4 turn. And then if I do that, I pretty much have to make sure I get Goff and probably take him as high as, 20 picks above his ADP just to secure that stack, which is in best ball fine to do. So I'm up in 5 picks. So again, looking in this range. I don't hate rolling the dice on Breece Hall. His stock is down right now. I think there's a growing sentiment that there are some people who are out on Breece Hall after a down year last year. The Jets had a down year last year, just in general. But 57 catches is still really good. And for all the noise about Braylon Allen, he was okay. Or you can just give me. All right, fine. Okay, fine. I'll take Kyren Williams at the 3-4 turn, and I will go with 10 to 12 touchdown upside, because for at least one more year, Kyren Williams is probably going to be LA's bell cow. So I'm happy to have that situation play out. I don't know that I want Breece now. Mike Evans, I have to imagine the cliff is coming, but am I really going to doubt Mike Evans? I like these guys right here. I've been a Mike Evans guy for a long time. Yeah, I'm just going to go chalk here and take Mike Evans. He has been a stud every single year of his career. Maybe with the exception of last year, he wasn't like yeoman Mike Evans, but he missed some time with an injury. He still posted 1,000 yards receiving. And now I can look down the board and see what I'm working with my next couple of picks. See, there's some other running backs that I like here. The wide receiver drop off, Addison, I like. That's not a drop off. If he's available, I would take a long, hard look at that. Kamara, decent value even on a bad offense. Adunze, some people like him to break out. Others are, skeptical about the Bears offense in general. Godwin coming back from an injury, who I like, but coming back from an injury is a bit of a question mark. Olave, unpredictable quarterback situation and a lot of concussions, unfortunately. Jawan Jennings, maybe. James Conner, David Montgomery. That could be a good one. I have Amon-Ra, just grab the Lions offense. Of course, we have to be careful with the Lions. Are they set to regress with no more Ben Johnson as their offensive coordinator? I think that's a fair concern to have. And just going back to the dynasty question, it's a super flex draft. Yeah, I would take that 102 and I would put that thing on the block and I would see I could move. Can you move back to the 105 or the 106 or the 107, pick up an extra asset? And try to target somebody who's looking for a quarterback and may be interested in grabbing Cam Ward that high. Ten picks away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, we're looking in this range. TreVeyon Henderson's very interesting. I just talked about him with this dynasty rookie draft question. He is regularly going around the 105, the 106. High expectations. Day 2 draft capital, second round draft capital to the New England Patriots, who don't have a ton of clear-cut offensive weapons on that offense to for Drake May to lean on. Could catch a lot of passes out of the backfield. Ramondre Stevenson is still there. But they seem to have lost faith in him a little bit. It's probably going to be something of a full-blown committee, which obviously, that caps Henderson a little bit and makes his cost a little bit of a, noteworthy. Like, is it a little too high? But he is explosive. He is dynamic. I'm expecting big plays from TreVeyon Henderson this year. Multiple, not numerous, maybe numerous. He's an interesting target in this range. All right. I'm happy to end up with Addison here as a wide receiver 3. I'm going to go ahead and key him in now as I take a look at what my other options are here. Laporta is not an option because I drafted Bowers at the 201. I'm going to be left with Calvin Ridley. I don't really want to take Calvin Ridley, but I feel like it makes sense to take Calvin Ridley if he falls to me right here. If he doesn't, I'm not going to be that mad about it. This guy's about to auto into something. Oh, he took Kamara. Okay. Just looking down at who are these are my running back options later versus my wide receiver options. Brian Robinson, I don't mind. Oh boy. The running back options fall off a cliff a little bit here. All right. I'll take Calvin Ridley here. I mean, he gets a quarterback upgrade. Cam, I don't care how good or bad Cam Ward is this year. He should be better than Will Levis. Man, I don't really want Walker. Okay. I kind of jumped a little bit there. With James Conner, I mean, all he typically does is come through with RB2 production. The vibes around the Cardinals offense seem to be pretty good. And again, it's best ball. So I know if Connor misses games, which he does, he usually misses 2 to 3 games over the course of his career, or over the course of his, 2 to 3 games per season over the course of his career. But I'm gonna draft 3 or 4 more names at the position. And again, I like the vibes on the Cardinals offense. I mean, he had a great year last year. He's probably not going to have this strong of a number again. But if he puts up 70 to 75% of his production and gives you an RB2 season, I'll take him 60 picks in. I also don't have any shares of him yet, so let's diversify. Dang, I didn't realize this. I'm not scoring any points week 8. Both of my running backs, my wide receiver 1, and my hopefully difference making like yeoman tight end, all on bye week 8. I will not score a lot of points that week, in all likelihood. What's Geno's ADP? Quite cheap, but I want to make sure I want to make sure I keep an eye on him. Well, I'm not gonna queue him yet because I have been letting some picks auto on purpose, like intentionally. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on him. Jared Goff's ADP of 115, about 40 picks or so. I'd have to take him here. I'd have to take Goff here if I want to stack with Amon-Ra, which he was my first overall pick, so it's probably not a bad strategy. Stacking is, again, important. More important probably in best ball than it is in redraft. In redraft, you can get away with not stacking. Best ball, it's more encouraged. Because, again, you can't make any in-season roster moves. You can't make any transactions during the season. So you can mitigate risk by going all in on one offense that you expect to be good, or at least that quarterback wide receiver combo you expect to produce. I will say this is breaking my way pretty good. The tight ends are going. The tight ends are not falling, so I'm not getting an opportunity to take a guy that I feel like is a really good value yet. So I like my decision to take Bowers. And I like that I grabbed a running back instead of going wide receiver at the 5-6 turn because the running backs have been scooped up. I don't expect Diggs to fall. This is a pretty palatable spot for Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed's stock is down. And again, now I get to draft him after the rookie Golden. This, of course, he would have to be available. He has to survive 2 more picks. I don't know if that's about to happen. I'm just looking and seeing what I got down here. Scatabo. This feels high for Scatabo, even though it's just an RB3 price. There goes Ayuk. Ayuk is a huge. I don't know if I'm going to be drafting Ayuk this year. That injury was severe. I don't know. We got to see what he looks like. There's 2 winners right here from the NFL draft. DeAndre Swift. Wow. All right. So I'm definitely taking Jaden Reed. I think I might just go chalk here and take these 2 wide receivers. And I will. Let's see. I want to look down the board. I definitely want Jaden Reed. So these are the running backs that will be available to me later. Yeah. Versus the wide receivers that are going to be available to me later. Yeah, I'm going to double up here. Shakir just signed an extension with the Bills, meaning they pretty much are committed to him. They added Josh Palmer in free agency. The Bills did. They get Keon Coleman in year 2. They lost Mac Hollins. Dalton Kincaid is still there, I guess. The Bills committed to Shakir in the form of a contract extension. He's attached to Josh Allen. He's awesome. I get him 5 or 6 picks past his cost or his normal ADP as a wide receiver 5. I like that. I also like Jaden Reed in this spot as well. Jaden Reed had an incredibly high ADP last year. I think he was getting regularly drafted 5th or 6th round. Now you can have him basically at a round and a half to 2 rounds cheaper. And yes, he's high variance, but he is still dynamic and explosive, and he's the type of dude that can give you winning weeks. You don't know when those weeks are going to happen, and they could be sandwiched between a bunch of poor performances. Again, best ball can, if you hit on the right guys, best ball makes bad performances, easier to stomach because you don't have to set a starting lineup. I do not need to predict when I want to put Jaden Reed into my lineup. It will just happen when he goes off, and he will go off at least a few times this year. If he's able to put together just a little bit more consistency. Again, Jordan Love himself also missed time last year, and those games the Packers went run heavy. So some of those situations where Jaden Reed didn't put up big numbers weren't in his control. They should be this year, assuming a cleaner bill of health for Love. A round and a half, 2 rounds cheaper. Jaden Reed is way more palatable this year than he was in 2024. Jordan Mason has a very high ADP. I saw this report a couple months ago that they would intend to use him on the goal line, and that's all well and good. But at that, he's still going to be, and he's a good running back. Jordan Mason is a good running back, but Aaron Jones is still there. Mason is going to have to come through on some pretty damn good efficiency and or just be a touchdown machine to justify the cost of drafting a team's RB2, like clear RB2, in the 8th round of a draft. Ten picks away. So I'm looking at this range. I don't mind the idea of Najee. He's cheap, and he should give you some good early season points if we can expect the trend that we are kind of charting out for the Chargers running backs, which is that Najee is maybe the guy that the Chargers use at the beginning of the season, and then Hampton takes over later in the season. But 110 picks into a draft, Najee might be giving you RB2 performances for the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season. I mean, Najee is not probably going to be a dude that helps you the playoff weeks, but he'll help you get there. You need obviously we all want dudes. We all want to try to find the gems and the diamonds in the rough that will propel us to big time potential performances when it matters most in the knockout rounds of these contests for these big, obviously, winnings. But we have to get there first, right? You could have a round 18, round 16, 17 diamond in the rough, but you need the points first to get there. So I think Najee is a good guy that can do something that can do that, and is a dude that I think I will take here if he is available. I'm also very interested in taking Justin Fields. Even though Goff is here, I like the idea of it would be a naked Justin Fields. And what I mean by that is I don't have any other Jets to stack him with. And that decision is eliminated because the guy ahead of me just took him. Maybe I should thank him because now the decision for me is pretty straightforward. Tyron Tracy's interesting, but I don't know how that backfield shakes out with him and Scatabo. I'm going to take Najee, who, again, I don't know if he survives the entire season being a legitimate option, but I think he's going to be a strong option, at least for the beginning of the season, and kind of beef up your early season points to, keep you alive, keep you afloat in the guts of the season as we move through it. And I'm going to go down and grab Goff here. I'm not super enthusiastic about Goff, but I drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown at the back half of the first round, and I have an option to stack him up with his quarterback without reaching for him. Therefore, I'm going to practice what I preach. Stacking makes sense. I'm going to prioritize Geno Smith a little later in this draft because I also grabbed Brock Bowers. And now that I have Goff, obviously Laporta and Jameson Williams are off the board, but I could look at other ancillary wide receivers later on. Tim Patrick would be a free option for me. I don't know about Tesla, as the fantasy footballers refer to him as. He's a dart throw rookie. We'll see what happens. I'll take the shot on the vet who is like cheaper and has done it before. So I want to make sure I keep in mind a guy like Tim Patrick at the end of this draft because I have Jared Goff. I want to keep Trey Tucker and Jack Besh in mind for the Raiders because I intend to grab Geno Smith to stack him with Ashton Ginty. So these are the types of things you want to be mindful of when you're doing a best ball draft. Once you end up with, once you know who the high-end studs are on your team, prioritize stacking with that player's quarterback. $12 picks away. Shoot, I might not get Jack Besh. I didn't realize his ADP was this high. All right, then. Some interesting running back depth here. A lot of uninteresting tight ends here. I'm avoiding all of these guys like the plague. Dalton Kincaid, not a good year last year. I mean, could he bounce back? Of course. But he just doesn't. He inspires so little confidence right now. Ferguson, I guess, he should be fine. And now his depreciated cost, he's not expensive. Of course, the acquisition of George Pickens in the offseason is going to soak away a lot of targets in all likelihood. Dallas Goedert, I mean, third option in a good passing offense, but I think he's got a high watermark of touchdowns in a season with 5. And there were whispers and rumors that the Eagles were going to try to trade him this offseason. So I just don't know how, I don't know how committed they are to him. They're obviously going to run the ball with Saquon. They're going to throw the ball to A.J. Brown. They're going to throw the ball to Devontae Smith. They're going to run the ball with Jalen Hurts. I mean, now, like when you factor those things in, Goddard is kind of like 5th in the order of attack for the Eagles offense. I'm not crazy about that. And then this name needs no introduction. We all know what we're doing with Kyle Pitts. We are avoiding. We are not drafting. I would love to get Jack Besh here just to like complete what I intend to be a Raiders stack. Do I need to reach down for Geno? I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to. I should be able to take Geno at the 13-14 turn. His ADP is closer to 170. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams already with 2 quarterbacks, so I should be okay. 8 quarterback. Jack Besh, that's who I was going to take right there. Okay. I don't have any New England Patriots. I could take a naked Drake May, who I do think he's pretty pretty cheap for a guy that most people like. There are no wide receivers in this range. Tajay Spears had a down year last year. I'll grab Rachaad White. He was disappointing last year, but now his ADP is way down in the 12th round. Obviously, Bucky Irving is the belle of the ball. Everyone's excited about Bucky, rightfully so. He had a dominant year last year. He looked incredible. There are questions of, can he hold up as a bell cow for a 17-game season? And I don't know that the Bucs are necessarily expecting him to load up into a bell cow role, but they do intend for him to be the primary guy. Again, he earned that last year. And they like Sean Tucker. So Rachaad White's role is by no means confirmed or guaranteed, but he is a solid pass catcher out of the backfield. And at this depreciated cost, I'm only asking for 4 or 5, maybe 4 to 6 games from him to return flex or low-end RB2 worth. I think Rachaad White is capable of giving you a top 24 finish 4 or 5 times. I mean, this is a good offense still. They lost Liam Cohen, new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, I suppose they could take a step back on offense. But Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback. They still have Mike Evans. They get Chris Godwin back. They have good pieces. They have good pieces along the offensive line. Tristan Wirfs is a stud. This is a good offense. We're expecting they were top 3 last year. I think even if they regress to middle of the pack, maybe in the 12 to 15 range, that's still a good offense. That's still an above average offense. I would think Rachaad White can give you 4 top 24 weeks, and at the 12th, at the 12th round cost, I'm willing to take a shot. Now I'm going to queue Geno because I still intend to draft him because I have Brock Bowers. Trey Tucker still their other guy? Yep. I will have 3 quarterbacks in this build. I grabbed Drake May, who was starting to fall. I like as a quarterback value this year. He's dirt cheap. And I intend to draft Geno, who has the same bye week as Jared Goff. So May offers me an option at quarterback that week so that I'm not pulling a 0. So there's different reasons, different advantages in these scenarios to draft 3 quarterbacks. may also end up he may end up being the best fantasy quarterback of Goff between him, Goff, and Geno this year anyway, regardless of any stacks that I have. A lot of running back depth getting scooped up. Trevor Lawrence fell by about 15 picks. Pretty decent value. Roschon Johnson, man, his ADP is climbing. Anybody who's playing Dynasty, if the person in your league who has Roschon is maybe asleep at the wheel, if you feel like you can, I don't know, take advantage of a lull point in the offseason. The Bears did not make any significant adds through the draft to their backfield in a offseason where it was widely expected they would. They bring in Ben Johnson from Detroit. All he did was use two running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. He's had DeAndre Swift before when DeAndre Swift was a Lion. Maybe there's a new vote of confidence in him, but he didn't get a ton of work when Ben Johnson was when Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator and Swift was a running back for the Lions. He did not get yeoman's level bell cow work. That was the year that Jamal Williams had a crazy amount of touchdowns. Now we're seeing a lot of quarterbacks off the board. Well, I have Geno starred, so that's not a problem. Do I have any other potential stacks here in the area? There's Demario Douglas, but I don't think I need to reach on that. Maybe I'll take a depreciated Jalen McMillan. I just got done talking about how I expect the Bucs to have a good offense. And while McMillan is widely being kind of forgotten after the Bucs drafted Egbuka in the first round, along with Godwin and Evans, McMillan showed out pretty good last year, and I think proved he deserves to have some type of role. I will take the depreciated cost of a Jalen McMillan and take a shot. And it's not a stack, but I also have Mike Evans. So if Evans is doing his thing, then I'm not going to care that I have Jalen McMillan. But if anything happens to Mike Evans, I will be happy that I have Jalen McMillan. So you could argue I'm not maximizing a potential ceiling here. That would be one argument with having two wide receivers on the same team without having the quarterback to go along with them. I'm not maximizing my ceiling. I guess I'm thinking more like risk mitigation here. And again, trying to consolidate to what I expect to be a good, maybe not a great offense like they were last year, but still a good offense in Tampa. What was I was saying before? Oh yeah. Go make a low ball offer for Roschon Johnson if you play Dynasty and you have somebody in your league who you think you can catch napping or sleeping. The Bears did not make any significant additions to their backfield. I would expect Roschon is going to get his opportunity to be something of a thumper, probably maybe in that David Montgomery role that Ben Johnson ran with the Lions backfield for the past couple of years. No significant additions in free agency or the draft. Roschon is in his third year. I would expect that he splits opportunities with DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift is still going to be the team's RB1 in all likelihood. I'm not crowning Roschon as the Bears' RB1 this year. However, I do expect that he will get an opportunity to be maybe like a first and second down thumper for them and the potential guy to get goal line opportunities. I would throw an offer out there for Roschon. If you don't have him and you could use some running back help, See if you can catch the Roshan owner sleeping. So I'm done at quarterback. I've Goff, May, and Geno. I grabbed Goff and Geno specifically because Amon-Ra and Brock Bowers were my first two picks, so I wanted to stack that up. I grabbed a naked Drake May, no other Patriot stacks. Right now, I could still look to potentially grab one. Demario Douglas is right here. I'm about 10 picks away, so he is in play here. I'm done at quarterback. I'm also probably going to be done at tight end. I am going to rock with Brock Bowers, who was my second overall pick, first pick of the second round. I am expecting, the reason I drafted him there is I am expecting significant positional advantage from Brock Bowers compared to his other tight end league mates, to the point where I do not care that I will be eating a 0 at the tight end position on his bye week. The difference in points that Bowers makes up based on expectations and the ADP, I'm willing to eat that 0, that guaranteed 0, at the cost of grabbing another depth wide receiver that is more likely to crack my starting lineup on a case-by-case basis than a tight end 2 when you have the expectations that Bowers does. If Bowers scores 175, 180 fantasy points from the tight end position, and the next best guy scores 150, and the tight end 2 that I draft scores 40 on the year, that probably means he's only getting me 4 or 5 points anyway on a week where, yes, I'm taking the 0, but I'm still getting more points than anybody else at the tight end position because I have the best guy. Demario Douglas went a few picks before I had the chance to get him. That is frustrating. So, yeah, there's a lot of tight end options here that I could grab as a tight end 2, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, I could use some depth, though, here. Jalen Coker, I thought I saw a positive report about him. Oh, that's not positive. Soft tissue injury. Oh, boy. Okay. I mean, he's working off to this. I don't want to overreact too much on that type of stuff. But soft tissue is like, I don't want to mess around with that. Okay. I can definitely use another running back. I'll take Shipley. I don't know that he contributes much, but Saquon Barkley handled a almost 500 touches last year. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that, I don't think Saquon disappoints, but I think it would be insane to expect him to receive anywhere close to that number of touches for 2 straight years. So let's see what Shipley can do in year 2 as a 16th round dart throw. I'm going to go ahead and probably end the stream after this draft. So hopefully it was helpful for those who wanted to follow along. If you are seeing this stream after I sign off, if you have any questions, feel free to add them into the chat or add them in the form of a comment on this live stream. And I will be sure to get to it if it's Dynasty or Redraft. And then I do intend to have a video out tomorrow. That'll be a little bit more for the Dynasty crowd. Stay tuned. I'll probably do, for my last 2 picks, I'll do 1 running back and I will do 1 wide receiver. The wide receiver will either be like a Tim Patrick a Trey Tucker or who are the New England options? Wide receiver. Keishon Butte, Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins is not a bad veteran 18th round dart throw. And then Las Vegas, Trey Tucker. I mean, he had a good year last year. Or a solid year anyway. It's not my favorite running back collection of all time, but getting Kyren at the 3-4 turn is nice. I might have gone a few picks earlier than others would feel comfortable doing with James Conner, but he does deliver RB2 performances year in and year out. And again, the vibes on the Cardinals offense appear to be better than they were last year. So I'm willing to take that shot. Najee is boring and could be irrelevant by the end of the season, but I do think he has a chance to help you in at least the early goings of the season, and keep you afloat for the first month or 1 to 2 months of the year. You don't win a championship in September and October, but you can lose it. And I think a guy like Najee helps to keep you afloat for, I would say, the first 6 to 8 games of the year. And then anything after that would be gravy. A lot of dart throws down here, but you have to make sure that you look this far down. There's Tim Patrick. Here's that pretty awesome super deep dart throw at running back that I may find myself talking about tomorrow. And then I'm going to grab Trey Tucker as well. And that'll do it. Goff, May, Geno, Kyren, Connor, Najee, Rashad White, and then Will Shipley, whatever. I took a major dart throw in LaQuint Allen in Jacksonville. That backfield seems to be a little unsettled at best right now. I will go into that more tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Amon-Ra, Mike Evans, Ridley, a little bit older at the top of my wide receiver depth, but some old reliable options. Jaden Reed, depreciated value compared to last year. I will take that when I'm just looking for spike weeks in best ball. Khalil Shakir got him below ADP, below cost. They just committed to him with a contract extension, and then some random dart throw guys. McMillan had a good year last year, but he's kind of more on the dart throw radar this year because of the return of Chris Godwin from injury and the addition of Emeka Egbuka through the first round of the draft. Andre Iosivas, firmly down the depth chart for the Cincinnati Bengals, especially after Jamar Chase and T. Higgins signed their extensions. However, he is attached to Joe Burrow, so what the hell? And then Trey Tucker for a veteran stack with Geno Smith. And then Brock Bowers, not only, he's the reason I did the stack with Geno Smith, not the other way around, expecting a difference-making monster at the tight end position. And that's that. That is that. Okay. So fun little exercise. If anybody is watching this late or is watching this back and has any questions, why did I do what I did, or any thoughts about any one specific player, you can let me know in the chat, or you can let me know in the form of a comment on this live stream or any of the videos on my channel, and I will be sure to get to it. I think that'll do it for me for this evening, though. Again, I'll have a video coming out tomorrow, so be sure to stay tuned for that. That's more for the Dynasty crowd, although this player could make his way into the redraft conversation in the coming months. It's a super deep dart throw, but we're trying to uncover every stone to see what advantages we can get going into 2025. That'll do it for me. Everybody have a great Tuesday night. Thanks to everybody for popping in. Thank you, Khalid, a new channel member. Welcome in. Appreciate your support. And you guys will be seeing more of me over the course of the summer as we get closer to football season. Thanks, everybody.